Okay, we're recording.
All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's May 10th Facilities Committee meeting. We'll go ahead and get started right away. I do not yet have the agenda up in front of me. I'm pulling it up now. What's first here, Frank?
So I'm gonna jump around a little bit
Sure.
just because I have Joe here, and Joe doesn't need to be a part of the elementary project. So, we're gonna help him, and Jim's here. Oh, Jim needs to be a part of that. Actually, no. But so I want to jump around a little bit if that's all right. So let's start with our field maintenance update. So and that's Bill and kind of where we are with our field, what we're doing with it, and how our fields are currently.
So right now we have the additional baseball field over satellite back operational. From what I understand, that has been used in a couple of years. That's had its first game played on it last week. It has another game scheduled for this week. Forwarded on the information from Cornell and the soil survey on to Rachel. Met up with Rachel last week. She looked at it, agreed with the fertilizer plan that came back from one of our vendors. And we're just plugging along.
And all our fields right now, they're all in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So, and then they're all being used at all times, I believe, too, right?
Yeah.
Joe, I mean,
The only thing I would I think was sharp.
yeah.
Also transferred several. Softball. He's going to continue to work. 216 was enough to raise up. Hopefully enough between this year and next year to eliminate a lot of the ponding and puddle issues that we have due to thunderstorms and rainfall. So if we bring that base back up and we mix some more of the infield mix in, it'll eliminate some of the issues with rainfall.
And we're caught up. I mean, the late snow really hurt us. The baseball game on campus was actually it's not true field with the drainage underneath that softball and baseball field across the street. That really struck.
That's the varsity boys.
Yeah, so the plan is to eventually get it. So, yeah, so it's graded so that the water doesn't puddle, it drains off, but it takes time.
So the softball field has drainage and all the things that the capital project work.
It does.
And what other one does?
The baseball field.
The modified baseball field that we have over there.
They were real cheap. So,
Right, and the other one was not, for varsity boys. If we were to purchase like maybe a half an acre of land from somebody over in the modified area, that could become a full-size baseball field, right? But we just don't, because of acreage right now and how long it is, we can't use it for varsity.
the property is shaped like a straight ahead center field. Minimum of 280 feet. So we just, like, we're feet away from the true varsity. Playing to bells and whistles.
I just barely remember the history, and I thought at some point fall hard into this field here. Used to be Swift,
We played at Swift Road.
right? Because they wanted to be at the.
Right. Well, no, because you can't play there. But the only difference is that that field is actually designed as a field.
No, I get it.
Yeah, and that one,
I'm just remembering them pushing.
Oh, yeah, I'm
hard.
sure.
They pushed hard
To
on
be
campus,
here,
and
yeah.
like the plan would always be to play varsity. But it would be nice to have a backup option.
Yeah,
and it also would be nice to have a revenue stream where if we wanted to rent out that for people and have a place for other people to have a varsity game or have a full baseball game, we do have a facility that we can utilize. We need to keep it up for our modified team.
big enough, that purchase will happen. So we could probably get another full-size soccer field done, which would give us a little bit of flexibility for lacrosse and soccer.
Right.
And maybe have the rotation to do aeration the right way and let fields rest and seed and fertilize. So that one purchase would probably help us a lot.
So, any other questions on field maintenance?
None from me.
What's that?
I said none from me.
So moving on to softball fence update. Bill? Joe?
You take it, or I'll take the softball. You take the other one.
It's softball discus is supposed to be, softball discus.
Started looking into replacing some of the damaged fence that's on softball and also extending the fence for discus. It's a conflict when both are playing at the same time. Combined total was under $4,000 to replace what's damaged. And they have an additional section. So, I'll explain why we need another piece on it.
So this is the discus circle. This is the softball. It's probably the parts for the discus circle. So this is basically inbound discus. Occasionally you get an errant throw. You know, the dugout back and forth. This is back. But more importantly, you know, for the discus with the softball, but all the way around the fence. Get to the top, but there's always a risk that something bad happens. The fence ends are there. Both those spots. One other section to completely shelter the softball. So we have a track meet today, on a softball meeting. What we're doing is we're going to start the distance at 3 o'clock to get it done before the softball games. You only have the luxury to do that because the other team can get their team here early. But there's other times where we run those events at the same time. And, you know, it's a hazard. So it would be tremendous if we could get that done. Sorry I had my back here, Ron.
Any questions on
All right.
this? It makes complete sense. Just
Yeah.
fix it and get it done. Next, the satellite field sign update. Bill, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, trying to get vendors for anything these days seems like it's a challenge. The fence of 3 vendors, I got one reply no, one reply that they couldn't get product, and finally the last one gave us a proposal. The satellite field fence is kind of the same thing. Wound up finally with a solution from Saxton, who we have as a vendor already. And basically what they're gonna do is take the existing signs and put a vehicle wrap around what's there. So I'll have to deliver them, we'll pick them up, bring them back and forth. Cost will be under $500, both signs will be freshened up. I've done this previously on a used truck with Bosse's, truck had over 100,000, had some rust on it. We did a vehicle wrap that lasted for the 4 years that I was there, and it's still going. So they're actually kind of like what you see on a, you know, on a CDTA bus or something to that effect. That's a solution for that.
It'll be easy. Sign will be updated. Any questions for Joe while he's here about athletic fields and facilities?
I don't.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. See you later, Joe. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about discussion, the Jeff High School full-time custodian, custodial grounds and maintenance. So, Bill, what we're realizing is we have a lot of facilities. There's a lot of grass and there's a lot of maintenance and there's a lot of If we have one person out, we don't have, if our grounds person say, falls ill or can't come here, we don't have the capability or cross training to set up our field right. So there's only one person who knows how to set the baseball correctly and set the softball bases correctly. If that person's not here, we don't have them. So A, we need to cross train and prepare for that. And B, it's one person for the high school and we have somebody down at the middle school, elementary school who does a couple hours, but there's a lot to handle. I mean, if we want to keep our fields and grounds up to date, we're going to have to make some changes. So Bill can, and his recommendation is to take one of our custodians, our 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock to 11 o'clock custodians, and half them out. So they come in at 12, they do 4 hours worth of groundwork, and then they go to do custodial work. So we create a grounds custodial position. We're not going to lose. Bill doesn't feel like we would lose any custodial time, or
Yeah, a little bit.
but something we can handle.
We can probably handle it. We might have to supplement it. A sub could probably, if we get to that point, we can figure it out.
So, but we're thinking that it's going to be the best benefit to move us forward for now.
So you're just getting creative with who you have.
Well, we
Yeah.
have to post for it, but we believe we have internal candidates that want to cross train and learn how to do it.
So is that enough for you?
For now, yes. In the future, I don't know. So I think this is a good learning curve for us to see how this works out. And then if we need more afterwards, I don't want to jump the gun and add another person and add another thing to the budget where let's see if we can do what we do now. I kind of want to just be sensible as we move forward.
You take the whole season.
Yeah, take the whole season, see how it goes, and then if next year we need to make an adjustment, then we can make it.
Just out of curiosity, is there anybody else here?
Yeah, so currently, for baseball, softball, it's the gentleman that's basically for a grounds person. But then I have 2 of my maintenance guys that actually know how to, set up for the pitcher's box. Everybody jumps in, right? So today I have, a custodian on a mower. I also have a maintenance guy on a mower. They're helping line for the softball game for tonight, so lay out the string, snap the chalk line, so everybody else jumps in, I jump in, I let everyone go about it.
Jim's asking if we have an internal candidate. And
Oh,
the
yeah,
answer
I
is,
do have an internal.
we do have internal candidates that are interested in the position that could do the position, so that's good. Because the hard time is, you just said we got mowing and lining, and then let's say we have to do over for the soccer over there, and it's a lot. And then God forbid something happens where we need maintenance inside, but we're losing it, or if someone gets sick, then something's got to give somewhere,
Yeah.
and typically no one's ever happy. So if I have to pull somebody for mowing a lawn or doing the line, doing something, they're not going to be happy because I had to pull them for an emergency, and then just the snowball effect. This is an easy way to do it with the minimal impact.
I like how creative you're being. I'm
Bill?
guessing longer term, as your class sizes keep growing, you're gonna be running modified JV varsity for a lot of sports. And
We're thinking we're definitely going to have to add another ground person. I mean, there's no doubt,
Yeah,
but
but I like what you're doing now, just to see.
but our people also, the people that we have, our ground maintenance people, have been here a very long time. And nobody works forever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody ever works forever. So our goal also is to start cross training and getting some of that historical knowledge written down and trained, because, when they leave, they're leaving, I have 3 custodial ground workers that probably together have 100 years of experience, so
And they're all at that point next year.
well, they're getting to the point where, their ability to retire is getting closer and closer. We just want to make sure that we're planning for it. And that's, all right. So Bill's here for for almost all of these. So let's talk about playground real quick. So Jamie Chipmark from the Playground Foundation reached out to me, and Jeff, and informed me of something I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware that there was a stage that the Playground Committee purchased originally with the playground that was built. So during that time frame, the stage was like the state had with everything else. But it came back to them a couple of times saying that they needed to do more things to it in order to have it be approved. So instead of doing the stage, they took the stage out of that project and then they got approval and they put up the rest of the project. So they omitted the stage, but they still have it. So they have the stage, they have the ability to do it, so they want to put the stage up.
What is the stage? Like
It-
literally a
It's,
platform?
it's literally a platform.
So near the playground?
So
Or does it
where,
add to it?
no, there's already a spot that was designed for it.
Okay.
So they already had a location mapped out where it would go with footings that they would put in the ground, or they might be there. I'm not sure if they already kind of dug markers for it.
Yeah, I think the footings were already poured back when the playground was put in and buried, right?
Yeah, so let's say the footings are there, and then they would put that stage on top of the footings. That's really where we go. So, but we have to figure out, A, how is it ADA accessible, and we'll say that to prove it. And B, do they need to purchase anything else to make that happen? Because they might have to purchase railings, or they may have to purchase ramp. We did have a discussion, we brought the architect in and we had a conversation that, if they lower it down to ground level, and if it's a ground level, would they have to do all those things with their lift?
Mhm.
And, in one regulation, our architect said, maybe, yes, this could happen, but we're not sure about state ed. So we don't really know how that's gonna go, so we're working on it, and we're working with, the playground committee and Jamie Chismark to resubmit that for approval, and they're working with their vendor now to see what. Kind of up in the air.
Okay.
Right, Jim, any questions on that?
No.
All right, Jim, why don't you give us a $100,000 project update?
$100,000 project update. You probably have more information than I do. We've gotten some bills that have come in that we're processing. They're working on it. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, just got off the phone with our outside vendor, Gallo. Gallo was off for 2 days. They had an emergency at another site, but they have been every day prior to that, every day working. They're pretty much done with the site C, which is furthest all the way at the far end of the fields. Probably Thursday or Friday, they will be planting seed. And then they're going in full swing into the middle one, site B, which is the one in front of the shed and behind the shed, where there's another central. Basically, what they're doing is replacing the pipe that's existing, with something that's new, that's not rotted, and filling in around the creek. It's all moving along pretty quickly. We have a bi-weekly meeting with the engineer to make sure we're on spec and everything's done the way it needs to be, and that's next week on Wednesday, so we should probably be done way before the one. So,
And once everything is completed, they'll have to do some soil compaction testing to make sure that it's compacted correctly and that it won't sink any. So, but that's kind of the end of the project. So.
the interior part with HVAC, been in contact with the HVAC technician or company, and also with Engineered Solutions, our engineer on that. They did move where the split system was going to be located. They actually put it in a better location that makes more sense. Instead of being on the wall and blowing towards the doorway, it'll actually be over top of the door and blowing at the IT network rack, which is an easier location for the vendor. It wound up being basically a wash as far as cost goes, but they're moving it where it was, and they're also on the roof. The rooftop compressor unit is no longer going to be mounted to the wall. It's actually going to be stationed on the roof on some type of mount, which we've had water infiltration issues, drilling any holes in the wall, rather not do. Instead of making penetrations through the roof, they're actually going to utilize an existing fan vent that's there. Doesn't have a fan, it hasn't been used for years, so there will be no penetrations in the roof. So, there's enough leaks. We don't need another spot where we can have a potential. At the elementary outside, there was actually a change on some of the work. And what we're going to wind up with that is we'll wind up with some free work from Gallo to make it a wash. They're going to fix on either side of our ADA entrance. There's constantly a washout every time we have a good rainstorm.
So at the back of the building where that beautiful glass entrance is, if you go down that kind of driveway, it's always clearly just mud and just a giant kind of mess that's back there. So they will fix that depending on how everything works out. And again, we're doing 3 spots at the elementary school. That doesn't mean that we're going to fix all the spots or any future spots that will come up in the next few years.
You the samples,
Yeah, because I mean, there will be more. You know, we're going to have to probably,
pipes old.
yeah. So we're going to see it. This is the thing that has to go in the capital project. So, you know, as we're preparing, we do have to put that drainage. If we want to, you know, do it right, we're going to have to rip all those drains out and refix them. But this was just because there were such big holes
Mhm.
that were coming that it was creating a very big safety. And didn't want to have that anymore. That's what this one solved, but it doesn't solve it all.
And that shed that where one of the samples is that shed part of our regular like building survey?
It's part of our grounds, but it's not occupied. So we don't use that as any, like, it's not an occupied thing, but
Oh,
so it's not like something where they come in and like completely do a survey.
right,
No, there's no student use space
Yeah.
in there, so that's what they focus on.
right. I mean, I haven't been in there in a few years, but it was getting pretty tough over there and there's like gaps in the foundation where the cinder blocks are, and that's where all the wood chucks like to live, which is right next to the school garden.
Yep.
Which kind of defeats almost everything you try to do in the school garden.
Yeah, that, the foundation on that, it's actually laid block.
Yeah.
There's no cement, there's no mortar.
Okay,
So those are just stacked up block that was set on. That was instead of, you know, now you get patio blocks and they set your shed on it. That was how they did it when that shed was brought in. Looking at that and the future capital project, that shed is probably gonna go away. It's probably not gonna withstand being moved.
yeah.
So when we go to that capital project, there'll be a different solution. There's gonna have to be. We looked with the engineer, who's looking at this project now, and we both came up with the same. There's no way.
Yeah.
So for now, the wood chucks are there.
You
Yeah.
go to work in the garden and the wood chucks literally wait for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's,
great.
In a few years, hopefully the capital project goes through and, you know, there will be a lot of changes to it down there with that.
Okay.
there's a lot of wildlife. There's a beaver up the stream. There's enough there that.
Any questions on that? And again, like I said last night, I think it's important to note is if we do $100,000 project each year, it's similar to the buses, right? It's like you do it 1 year, you put the $100,000 out of the budget 1 year, then you're getting 2/3 back the following year. So really, you've made the investment originally, so now you're doing it for, 20, 33. So basically you're doing it for $33,000 a year to have a $100,000 project, as long as you do one yearly and then do those updates. So any of the deferred maintenance that the district has had, it really kind of solves that in a very economical way. So that's why the $100,000 projects are key.
Well, actually, you're keeping it clean.
Keeping it
For
clean.
the long term.
Yep. And you've already put the
That
initial,
would be great.
yep.
Yeah,
And you've already put the initial money in this year with the budget. So in the beginning, it's only a budget of 33,000 each year as long as you continue.
Right.
Well, estimate. Can't really.
Right.
Yeah, estimate. each year. As long as they don't touch expense basic. So the track shed. So speaking of sheds, that is in the back behind the track, way in that corner. And it's not in the worst shape in the world, but it's not in the best shape. We're actually looking to see if we can get some community support and, time. Bill's been talking to a couple people about maybe rebuilding that roof and then putting new doors on it. Bill, you want to talk about that quick?
Yeah, so basically all of our mats for, track and for long jump.
Hey, Bill, have we put in is the VCSF grant done?
oh, the 5K in May.
Yeah. Did we miss that? We might have, okay. All right, never mind.
But just because you missed that doesn't mean you can't apply
So,
for a grant.
Right, so there are grant opportunities to EPA, VCSF, and maybe other community organizations that we can look at.
Okay.
I forgot about that just now.
Okay.
But it's something we might want to think about if we're looking for material. Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
The floor and walls of the shed are fine, right? They're pressure treated, it's in decent shape. The roof is in need of being replaced and actually being rebuilt. The problem with the shed was the way it was built. The mice can get in there, they get into those mats, they're very expensive. And then you have a sanitary issue where prior to me being here, the mats smelled like urine from the mice being in it. So there was an issue, we purchased new mats a year or two ago. I don't know what they cost, but I know they're not cheap. So the idea is to actually fix this, put new doors on it, instead of a roll-up style, something that we can secure and have it mouse-proof. So we need a new roof, new trusses, and we need some type of a door that's actually gonna secure the building. The rest of the building is structurally fine. Trying to replace that building is going to be very, very expensive. Getting a building back there because of its location requires ground mats and pulling the fence out for the track and putting that back together. Obviously, you can't drive around the track, so you've got ground mats all the way around it, to put a piece of equipment back there and transport something. At one point, we looked at partially putting in a Connex, a storage container. The cost to do that, the container is $4,000, but to bring something there was going to cost another $5,000, because they need a specialized piece of equipment to bring it back. So we're better off fixing what we have.
Well, you'd be much better off, quite frankly, and it'd be a long-term kind of thing.
Yes, yep. It seems like the base is fine too. It's sitting on something, I don't know, that might have patio blocks under it as well. And there are triggers. It's on the wood line. We live in the sticks, so that's what we get. But yeah, fixing it is what we're looking at.
How much do you think it will be?
I don't have a.
No idea,
I mean, today with everything that we're doing today, trying to guess at a cost is, you can't put your finger on anything today.
To make it nice, I mean, you work for like 1, 2, 3 years to get that.
Oh, no. This is something that if we had a couple of local carpenters, community members that put their time into it, probably a few weekends. I mean, if they wound up with, a dozen people, a few weekends, they could tear that roof off, put a new roof on, buy some new doors for it and call it good.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a huge undertaking. The walls and floor are great. It's the roof structure that's needing repair, and the doors were never good from day one. Sliding door style, the barn, the barn cats, everything can get in there.
Any questions on that? All right, next, we're gonna talk about the outside facility use request. So we do have one current outside use of facilities. I sent you the kind of description of it. No, it's okay. Did I not send it?
No, I'm sure you do.
No, I might not have. Did I?
It's the King's Dancers.
No, maybe.
Well, I didn't.
All right, no, all right, so here, I have it. So that's okay. So I was going to send it and I didn't.
Well, you make it better.
See, I was like, wait, and then where your face was like, maybe I didn't send it. So let's look at this. So the King's Dancers. Yeah, let's see now. Come on. Sorry. I can actually make that much bigger. Hold on. Wrong one. And that's again.
I'm not, I've got it right here.
Yeah, can you-
Oh,
Right. So. That didn't work for that one.
Wow.
So what you can see, look how cool this is now, like I can actually present it. I'm excited. So this is the pricing that was given to King's Dancers. We're not sure if this is more or less than what's been done in the past.
I haven't been able to find that.
Right.
It would have been 3 years ago.
But this is based off of the board policy, based off of, where we put them. That is how the prices come up. And, we do this for each rental because we want, we've been showing these now because I think it's clear to be transparent where it's coming from in the policy, how much it costs, and, why it's costing what it's costing. So that is the price tag that, was given to them for the use of rental of the facility.
One of the items that kind of threw me off a little bit when I started working on this was the pack seating is one price and the pack stage is a separate price. because they could just use the seating in the pit, rather than use the stage. So, but that's, so there's two separate prices. They want 8 hours from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And, so that would be 1,600 for the entire pack to be used for that time. They also want the LGI to stage into the pack, as well as we need the pack manager there as required by the policy and custodial. I added a couple hours to clean up afterwards, just because that's going to be needed. And that's what it came out to.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up, because that's what Jim's talking about. So, you know, as he's saying, this, let's throw them off. Those are the things that I say that we have to have, so. The performing arts stage, the LGI, professional fees. Where's the other one?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
Where's the seating?
The seating is event with stage. It's the second line under Performing Arts Center. Then Performing Arts Center stage is a separate fee. So
So that was already presented to them, and
yes, it was sent to them. I haven't heard anything back. So that was sent last Friday. If that was way off, I think I would have heard by now.
Any questions?
I can't remember, I remember we said we're open to outside use again. But we also said if we go back into the red,
Okay, we
I
took,
can't remember,
so we said with this one, like, if it's not school affiliated,
right?
we kind of said, like, it's on them a little
And
bit.
it's not while we're in school.
Right, it's not why we're in school, it's not, we're not gonna have an impact on our kids or
Okay.
any of those things. So that's kind of where we were.
Sure.
So that's why we said, this is it, you know. We did tell them there's always a possibility. We made it clear.
That was primary in the email. If things get really bad, we may have to have, limits on capacity and things like that, just so they know that there's that potential. And that actually, took away one of the potential outside where, saying
Yeah, that's right, they wanted.
that they wanted, to do a concert on a Sunday in August. And because of all the logistics and everything, they said, no, we really can't do it. It's that potential.
You never know what's gonna come down. You just,
I
you don't know, you know, so it could be anything. Right, any questions on that? Okay, pause. Okay.
No,
All right, so next, the EPC update. So Bill's been meeting with some vendors and talking about some of the scope of what they're trying to put together for us. There was a recent school district that, what was it, 2.2 million they did on their EPC? Ichabod, yeah. So Ichabod Crane recently did one of the $2.2 million EPC contract with them. And they got lots of all their stuff that was there put onto the EPC, so. Yeah, we're at 1.2 is kind of where we are.
And we're still going, we're still adding.
But that doesn't mean that they can do it for 1.2. It's just now what they're doing is they're taking all of what our potential needs are. And then they'll look at the energy use and how it would be dispersed and then make a decision of where it would be for us. But some of the things that you want to talk about what they're looking at.
Yeah, so I mean, so far they've done lighting, they've looked at all of our lighting usage and upgrading everything. I would say 95% of our buildings are fluorescent, right? Some areas have been converted in-house. I think we did a little bit in the gym, the pack, or not pack, commons, where we converted some of them previously LED, but they're conversion type. They're not super efficient. They're still utilizing a transformer ballast, which heats up, so it's not as energy efficient as going with full LED. So that's happened. Tonight, they're going to be looking at some of the mechanicals. So what univents aren't upgraded, what ones are still older. It's also integration into the building automation, right? So with this, when the building's unoccupied, a classroom or room is unoccupied, why have it running at 100%? Put back a little bit on our grid build. And, some of this will actually work in our favor as well, because we'll be upgrading some of the units that potentially down the road, we're gonna have to upgrade anyway, right? So it'd be encumbered in the project. The other part of things that I brought up is a lot of our doors, exterior doors on this building are very old, and they're not in the greatest shape. So the aluminum sills and some of them have been removed, they've been repaired, replaced. The energy efficiency with our doors is a huge issue. We're losing a lot of energy.
And built-in polite, okay?
Yeah,
There are some doors that have like a good 1/4 inch to maybe, I've seen even a full inch in the back doors. Like,
Yeah,
again,
yeah, huge gap.
and there's nothing we can really do to fix them. I mean, and that's another survey that we're doing, not related to this, was a lock and key survey for another project, looking at upgrading everything from key ring down to, consolidating, and it makes more sense. So this is actually twofold. If we can have this done in this grant process, that'll save us, the taxpayers, and having to encumber what we're finding out in the lock and key survey, which we were gonna do over years anyway. So this might be a win in multiple reasons and covered under the grant.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Just baby phases, again, and this is a thing where you can still do your capital project, not touch those capital reserves, and then add more to that capital project without changing your flat budget that you wrote. So, that's why, again, we're putting a wish list together. Now it seems what energy savings will be and what we can actually accomplish on that wish list. So, right, wish list is great. The service is what comes next. We're moving forward. Any other questions on that? Okay, the last one, fun one. Okay. So, yes, the elementary school. We've met with everybody at the elementary school. We've talked to them about, what their expectations were down there. Jeff and I then have been working pretty hard to see how we can reconfigure that building and still a cost-effective measure, because you're not gutting the building, you're not changing it all, you're restructuring. Right? So we have a plan, and it's basically a rough plan that I want to show you today of what will be touched and what we can create down at the elementary. Still working on it. This is, plan A. We'll get to plan Z by, probably July. The transportation facility, we did the survey, they haven't done the boring. So the core samples, which I was like, why haven't we done that? It's the number one thing I need. And I'm kind of getting antsy now. And if you've ever seen me antsy, it's pretty annoying, right? Like, these guys are laughing. They
No
don't
comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if I don't get my way right away, it gets pretty annoying very quickly. So soon that will happen to that company if they don't get boring now. Because that's really going to depend on what we can do with elementary. If we find out there's bedrock and major issues at the transportation site, then it's going to cut down on what we can do.
Right.
We have to really understand.
I looked at the map that Rachel put in. Look like bedrock. Made me sad. Hopefully the boring will prove otherwise.
Let's see.
Okay.
Right? Let's see. Because they don't have to go down too far from where it already is. It's just going into that area.
Sure.
They're not going down, they're just going in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, but I don't know what the answer is. So I'm going to share, and hopefully we should be able to see this well here. I'm going to pin it. Oh, I have to actually pin it. Still learning.
Was the meeting with the staff helpful?
It was very helpful, and some of the ideas that I'm going to share with you actually came from the staff meeting. So, it was very, very helpful. Okay. So, this is first floor. I'm going to get up and point a little bit, if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, you're coming over the bridge. This is the front of the building. And if all you can see is my bald head, I apologize for that. So if you look at the large spot where the transportation facility used to be, that is where we're going to be doing a lot of the work. I'm going to zoom in as we go so you can read some of the things that we've talked about and what we'll have. But the major point of this is that we create a cafeteria. Right now, we can fit 76 students into our cafeteria at elementary. That's not even a full grade level. Like by code, it's 76.
Really?
Yep. You know, I know that we put some more in there every once in a while, but the code was, I believe what Michelle said is 76. I think our capacity is a little bit more than that, to be honest with you, but with the tables and chairs and everything else getting in, our capacity is more of a feeding wise. This one, it's up to already 170 on paper, and we believe we can get our capacity even more. So let's go to it. This is the transportation facility, now becomes a kitchen and area here. I'm going to zoom in more for you all. Just tell me when you want me to stop, right? Sorry if it's kind of crazy. So you have your delivery spot that we would already have. We do have to make out an area where it's safe for our students. You know, because if we're turning the front into green space, we need to make sure that the delivery area is very, you know, over around it, making sure everything's safe. But you have a freezer, cooler, storage, office, bathroom, you know, full cooking kitchen. You know, healthy choice and food options at the elementary school are important. And, you know, we did the school climate survey, the Department of Education survey we just did. Only got 58 respondents in the elementary school for families, which wasn't a ton. But one of the things they did say is healthy choice options at the elementary would be important. So to have more ability down there would be great. You also have a gang toilet in the back, over in this area. And then you have all of your seating. We'll also be able to, right here, as you can see, we'll be able to cut this off. So this is a small little area that you can use for testing and other things. And then you have a large group area as well. So easy to do. Storage in the back, which we already have, would just be utilized. Any questions on that? Right. Zoom out a hair. Oh, no, that's not zooming out. Sorry. Okay. There we go. So this is the transportation facility. We're going to keep the toilet and everything that's there. We'll just put all new ones in, but now it becomes a health food. Right. This is a new corridor that we would have to build and break out a wall to go into this back area. That corridor then becomes lockable, and then at night you could open this, you know, community space area for our community, and not have the ability for everyone to run crazy or so. It's just a safer area that creates a shared community. Our secured entry now is in the front, which we all know elementary schools is desperate need of that. You have your secured entryway in the vestibule. You have your main office. In your main office, we have another office, the principal's office, CPS, director's office, or if ever, the dean, students, assistant principal. There are 550 kids down there right now, and you know, eventually maybe more. Up here we have one principal for 300. Down there you have one principal for 550. If you get up to 650, 700, we may have to look at the restructuring of how things function down there. It's a big task. The more you add, the more crazy it gets. But we want to have the space. If the district ever needs to do that, we want to make sure that we have opportunities to do it, right? We don't want to limit future opportunities for the district. This is also a full conference room. Oh, and I forgot. In the cafeteria, so, you know, even though we're not building for Kids Club, we are building with the understanding that, you know, they do use our space and outside places use it. So this whole area is really big shelving units. So that people can store a lot of their equipment and everything. Moving on, this is the cool part. And this came out of the conversations that we had with our staff. On the first floor, second floor and third floor, we have our art and music rooms. Currently, you know, if you go up to I'll show you where they come there later. We are talking about actually moving everything downstairs and creating an art and music wing. So you have your PE down here, and then you have your art and music room. So hey, you're not gonna have a large amount of noise or anything else. You have a special area. And, you know, over in this area right now, that would be lessons and then art and music storage. Because, you know, that's where we can put instruments and all these other things, because there is no storage down there. This room here now becomes the art room. So this is where Kids Club currently is. They have an office there. And there's another room here. That becomes a full art room, which is bigger than what we would currently have. Kiln, closet, sink, storage. Gives you an idea of that. So new floor, paint wall, new casework. Down in this area, which is now the kitchen, we're going to build 2 music rooms. The kitchen and cafeteria now become 2 music rooms. One is going to be higher than the other because of the way that we decided would have to increase the floor. So we'd have to infill it to be at higher level. There's going to be casework. But that really allows us to have a whole art and music room. And what it does is it frees up the rooms where they were to be classrooms, so they're centralized with the rest of their classes. So instead of those being kind of sporadic around the building, we centralize them in one. Kind of cool. These areas here are toilets, and an office. If you go into any of those are probably, they need a little work. They're not bad, so they need facelifts. So new floor, we're looking at doing like the double floor that we have in the tech rooms. We would just re-pour that over the floor that we currently have there and work through it because it's already lit, so it's pretty easy. And we would be doing that too in the VR room. We're making acrylic floor, so it's easy cleanup, easy use. Things like that.
But time and money on that.
We're not there yet, Jim. I'll get there. So I gotta be honest with you, we don't have the money yet. This is first we have to do this. But as we talk about it, we're talking about the most cost-effective way to do these things, right? Because sometimes the gutting and the doing it is easy, but that's X amount of money. It's the bells and whistles that go on top of that cost a lot, right? So you have to understand where those things are. So what are you gonna put in the room? What, you know, are you gonna do flooring? Are you gonna do acrylic? Are you gonna do, you know, different types of items there? That costs as well. And then, you know, what are your needs and what are your extras that you want to add to the building itself? Adding these rooms definitely need, since we're just restructuring, not a huge amount of money because we're not changing walls. You know, in one of them, you know, it's not as big as a deal. Money wise though, we're not there yet. You know, we have budgeted, if no taxpayer impact would be what, 19 million?
No, technically it'd be, 12 million, because it's 2/3
Right.
from the state, 1/3 from that.
You're right, and that's really for elementary school. The transportation facility, you know, there will be a taxpayer impact. We're guessing it's gonna be there. Burnt Hills, Boston Spa did that, similar to us. Upgraded their buildings and building the transportation facility. I believe it was 1.9%. Am I wrong on that?
It was in that range.
Yeah,
It might have been.
1.4, 1.9. So it's a minimal tax impact that you're asking for. And there will be one. I do think I don't think we can do it without doing minimal tax impact. I think our worst case estimate is 2.5.
0.61.
And we're not there right now. I believe that we've already gotten it down to at least 2.2.
That was the range we were in last year.
Right, and if I know, that's including bedroom. So, and that was before we did this too, so it was everything ever imaginable, humanly possible added to that building was there. So I do believe we'll be able to get this down to under 2% for a possible tax increase, tax levy, community support, which is small, and then still be able to do everything we need. We're looking anywhere between 19 to 22 million dollars.
And when you say 2%, is that comparable to like the 2% being saved the taxpayer, but it's not going to the cap?
Roughly in the same range as what we were below the tax cap. Which, if we can get down to that lower number, we'll be right there essentially.
And then that also includes our growth rate. So, you know, all of those things are also important, but And, you know, when we get to the point of knowing where it is, again, I don't feel really comfortable in
Right.
saying what it is, but I want to be clear. There will be something. You can't do it for nothing. You just don't have the abilities. But we're trying to make it as minimal as possible with our growth rate and with everything we have. I think it's very fair. You know? But, did that help, Jim?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a great thing, I'll
Yeah.
tell you, that place down there is, it's been nothing really good down there, quite frankly,
Yeah.
relative to what should be. It's something that I think the community would be, want, would be with us.
Yeah, absolutely. This here is the current bathrooms. We're trying to figure out how we make these into storage areas. The PE teachers, and they're not changing anymore for down there for K-5, and they don't believe that it will ever come back. So, you know, it's not something we need to do. We're checking in on that, but we're looking at creating these toilet areas, keeping them, creating an area for an office space that we're just like a kids club. Using some of the existing storage that we have, and then already creating more storage, because we don't really have a ton. So, any questions on that first floor?
Nope.
All right, moving on to the second floor. The second floor, we're not changing really anything over here, where, you know, where the new wing portion. But we are changing things here. So this came out of talking to the staff as well. The library is here. This is the current nurse's office. We would actually open this up so to extend the library. So, because it's kind of tight in there, you know, for classroom spaces. And we would also make this area a makerspace. So, you know, we're thinking, again, a floor that's very durable, not carpet, and have an ability for it to be a classroom area as well, but also create a place where kids can do more work and more hands-on material in the library. And then there's a bathroom that is already there. We make that toilet accessible from the corridor. So that creates another, you know, bathroom for our community and staff and kids. And an IT office, because we need that. We're running out of space, we need room. This, right here, guidance suite, this area that I'm kind of running over. This is what we currently have. To save, you know, we realize to save money, we don't need to gut that. We can actually create a social emotional guidance suite. Eventually, if we need to put, you know, a PPS or anything else, we can put that there. But we can now create guidance offers, guidance suite, guidance, or social workers, all those other people, they can go into those rooms. So it's all centralized in one area. There's bathrooms here that we would utilize and try to figure out how we can make those more accessible. And because they're already there. And we wouldn't move the vault. So that was, again, you're moving a vault, that's expensive. So leave the vault where it is since it's already in a guidance suite, frees up space in the office area where we would have it, and then do this. So this I thought was pretty creative, and that's coming from, that really came out of our staff conversation. Thought on that?
Not yet.
Okay. No. And then this room here, which is currently a classroom, that becomes a science lab. So that area here becomes science work. I'm going to back out.
That's not the science lab now,
It's not the science lab.
that's the floor up.
So it's all centralized. So as we go into here, I just want to show you how we reconfigured this a little bit. This is the back. It's similar to this, a little bit different. We have third grade here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of third grade. Second grade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all together. This is currently a technology room. It was like a computer lab. Now going to become a second grade. So we have those rooms all together. Third grade all together, second grade all together. I forgot to show you first. Sorry about that. I can go back to first floor real quick. So here's a small gym. Small gym, and then kindergarten, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all together. First grade, 1, 2, 3. So that is going to be a little bit of a change. This has to be a special education overflow room. And then we have to go upstairs. And then these two rooms over here now are first grade. And these were the music rooms. You know, we're trying to be creative here and figure out how we can house everything. Because there's a lot of transitions down in that area. So those kids are easy to go up, down that basement stairwell and then up to here. So if they want to go and be with other teachers, it's easy to do. And plus with our Promethean boards, you know, the board similar to the one we have here, every classroom can become an interactive classroom because there's a video camera. Every classroom becomes a DL room like this. So that's pretty cool as well. But these two rooms now become first grade instead of music. And, you know, then we're going to have classroom, bookcases, equipment, and we're also looking at putting AC possibly in these rooms because they get pretty hot. So those rooms would have to get AC. Again, we'd love to do AC in the whole building. Not going to happen. Just not cost effective. So can't do that. And our faculty room stays where it is. Last room, like I said, we were pretty creative in trying to use only the spaces that we have and not adding a ton more. Last one, the third floor. Just gonna zoom in here. This is currently where our art room is. Now that becomes a fifth grade classroom. Again, we're anticipating 5 sections of each, right? So fifth grade classroom here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right in there. Do you see those? Resource room, the AISS, but those are already there. And then fourth grade. Must be.
Science
And then the fourth grade is all together too. So as best we could centralize, we did. This area that's in orange is the current science room. That we would move teacher station in the sink and prepare to be a regular classroom. These rooms up here would be getting AC because we know that they're really hot. So our goal would be to AC the third floor. Again, it's all going to be based on cost and price, but those are the things we're looking at. That's a lot to go over. So questions, thoughts?
So to summarize, you have 5 sections of every grade?
Yep.
In this
Yep.
footprint.
Right.
Okay. But isn't that what we,
No,
one was for?
one was 4. Yeah. But we're doing it by stealing rooms right now.
Okay.
You know, it's pretty cramped. And we're making the IT room currently into a classroom. So that's our goal. And we really don't know where we're going to put the room. Still trying to figure that out, how we're going to create a class.
Okay.
So we're still working on it.
Yeah, I think it's important to try to summarize it, frame it very easily for the taxpayer / voter to understand that we're out of space and how we need this so badly.
Right.
That everyone comfortably. Right now, it kind of seems like if you're already fitting those.
Well, we're not. So the
Right.
thing is,
That's all I'm just
Yeah,
trying to say.
we
need to
have-
figure out how
right
to
now is-
explain that better.
adding that extra section that I talked about last night, we
Mhm.
don't have a room for that. We're trying to figure out exactly where we're going to put it. And, you know, we might be able to put it in a room that we take away from something else, like one of the kids club rooms that are currently there, but it's not really a classroom. It's not set to be that way as well. I mean, as I'll be able to.
I just think
Yep.
every time we're talking about this at any board meeting, like say we're gonna steal the tech room and talk about
Yep.
that and explain that's not what we want. That's all we have right now. What we really need is capital project. You know?
Absolutely great.
Yeah,
and talk about what we're adding, because we don't have
right.
music or art room storage. We don't have the thing that, kids can put their instruments in place.
Yeah, I think if we just, every time we have an opportunity to talk about it, we frame
Agreed.
it as clear as we can. Yeah,
Other,
it's clear to us how badly we need this, but we talk about it all the time.
all the time.
I don't know, Rob, if you have the same opinion, or Jim? I mean, we see how dire we need. to
Yeah,
change
yeah, I
things.
mean.
Yeah.
It needs a lot.
Yeah, it does, it does.
Really.
And I feel like we keep finding ways to make it happen and maybe then the public's like, oh, what do you need?
That's, and I think
Right.
that's a great point, is we're finding these ways, but it's not at the betterment of our kids
No,
and our staff,
right,
and something's gonna have to give eventually. See, that's the problem, is the more you put into something, you try, and you do this, and you do that, something's given. And if we wanna have the best school district for our school
Right,
community, and we have to have competent facilities,
agreed.
for what the need.
Has to be a lot.
Mhm.
Agreed. So this is the best way to do it. I mean, would it be wonderful to put another 2 more rooms or 3 more rooms? Great. Because Kids Club isn't gonna have some space. We don't have, there's no free spaces. If you look in here,
Right,
every single space is being used. And so is, and that's now is we're using spaces, we're doubling up spaces. I have a speech teacher who uses the hallway to pull kids out.
yeah, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
We need to keep.
Right, because that's what I'm talking about. We don't have these rooms to be able to do this. And again, our class sizes, I want to be clear. We're trying to do this with class sizes of 20. It will, it might end up having to go up to class sizes of 24 or 25. It might have to get back to that point. We're trying now because we know with COVID and, the gap in, the kids' full-time education that it's needed for the small classes, but it might have to go back up to 2025. We're not going to be able to do, say our classes are 125 kids in the class, 125 for a section, that's 25 kids in the class. We're not going to be able to do a 6 section somewhere unless we can take it from somewhere else with a small class. And that's going to be the possibility. It's the best of what we have, with trying to be fiscally sound and not having. Anything else?
No, I mean, it's very exciting.
Yeah, man, it's great seeing it all,
Yeah.
laid out like that. So,
So we're hoping this is kind of the outline plan of it. And I think Trish, thinking about what you're thinking is we're going to create some type of diagram to show what we currently have and what we'd be gaining and why and how. I think that's a good point.
And kind of a list of the things that
Yeah.
we're making do right now, like something in the hallway.
I think I'll work.
I mean,
No, my brain is going
so
about
happy
how
they're
I can.
creative, but
yeah.
We need to map it out so it's very easy to do
Yeah.
for everybody.
I think that's a good point, because we got to tell the reasons why. Because your perception is you're making it.
Right?
That's all I have.
We start tomorrow.
Time frame. All right, time frame, Jim. You said that, I forgot. So time frame is, our goal is to go out for a capital project in November.
Mid-November to early December. Yeah.
If you look, as I look at Jim on these things.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we make a good team because I come on all the asks and he's got to come with me.
What do you mean come out with? Like,
So we have to go for a
Vote?
vote. Yeah, so it's gonna have to go out to the community. We publicize well beforehand. We started doing community forums. We toured the current elementary school. I mean, we do a full court press on what we currently have and then what we're getting out of it. And we probably would start that in August, September, depending on where we are with the vote and where we are with the plan. But I would say when we begin the year, we begin our communications and how we sell this and what it is. We use our open houses, we use any type of events to really sell why and what it is and what we're doing, because people need to know.
Wondering if to show some of the compromises, they might want like Julia to take pictures of things going on. So just
We'll use communications to help frame it. like that. And then we go for the vote in November, December, and then the year after that, right?
So the process to get it through state ed will certainly take at least through that next summer. The start of construction with what can be done will be during the 23-24 school year, what little could be done. 24 summer is going to be a lot of the work, 25 summer finishing it up.
So that's elementary school transportation facility. I mean, they can probably start that sooner because it's not going to be impacting students, right? But that's making sure they can go there and does everything we need to do. So that could probably be done in, maybe 23-24 school year and start working on some of that. Because we need to get that done in order to do a lot of the work back there.
We would hope for the 24-25 school year to have transportation already up here so that they can do all the work down there.
Goal is by 2025, be done. Sound all right?
And as you're putting together the package, communication with the community, you can also like make sure each board member has their little package.
Oh, we're gonna give you talking
Okay,
points
yeah.
and yeah, so you've never done a big project with me before, so when I do these types of things, I'll actually give you speaking points. And then I'll have community forums as well, but I'll give you each speaking point, I'll give you pamphlets of exactly what we're doing, so you can share those things as well, but you'll be very well informed. And basically, we'll be talking about so much, you'll be the ones that, we think you'd be the ones creating the project. Like, you'll be that well informed of all the key things. I try to make sure that everybody's a key speaker. I call them key communicators. Typically, we're gonna start them for this project, where you get key communicators from the community, so members of PTA, business world, the senior citizens. You reach out and you grab some key members, ask them to meet with you. You then share the plan with them. You give them the key points. They tell you all the bad things or good things. They go out to the community and then they come back to you and say, here's what I heard. And then you kind of work through that. And it works really well for big projects like this. It works really well for budget years where it's, you're definitely going to have a different budget year. So if maybe 2 years down the road, we need a key communicator group. But those work really well for selling things like this. So that's all part of the plan, but we first have to A, design it, B, figure out how much it's going to cost and what we can put in, because I'd love to put in down there a whole new speaker system. I'd love to put in clocks. I'd love, synchronized clocks. I'd love to see the whole building, but all those things cost some money. And, they're great, but they're not needed, right? I don't need synchronized clocks throughout the whole building. It'd be wonderful to have them, but I don't need. Do I need a new PA system? Absolutely. So that's got to go into that project. Things like that. And then you talk about cameras, and just all the other things. Yeah, we're at the very beginning of this. Anything else?
Thanks for all your work on it. It's great.
We're excited. All right.
Okay, that's all I got.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Thank you.
All right. I'm
All
gonna
right.
stop
See you guys
recording.
later.
See you later. Look at that.